Okay. Thank you, Mama Maimuna, for accepting to be part of the Global Feminist Project that is sponsored by University of Michigan. The goal of this project is actually to undertake the oral histories, to create and preserve conversation with women whose scholarship and or activism has contributed to women's activism or has contributed in a critical ways to issues that are important to women. So without wasting much of our time, we are going to spend an hour today discussing about 5 broad topics, including general background about your life and work, your reflection on your work, your thoughts about the relationship between feminist scholarship and activism, and how you see your work in relation to these practices. Your thoughts and insights about your work in the context of broadly conceived notion of women's movement. And finally, the connections you see, if any, between your work and those of activists in other national settings. So if we start with the background about your life, as you think about where you are today, how would you depict the journey that has brought you to this point?
Thank you, Annette, and I'm glad and excited to also contribute to the global initiative. And let me go straight in terms of background myself and the way that I had this journey since I started. Briefly, what I want to say, my journey was rough in a way. Particularly where I started, but I would like to start with the organization that I joined in 1994. It was Kuleana Center for Children's Rights. And the place that I was living had so much violence against women and children. And myself and the other women, I mobilized the other women, started speaking openly because it wasn't spoken openly in terms of violence happening in our community. And because we were living here in Mwanza in a hill, and it was a hill that we could see young girls marching from top to the bottom. And these are girls who have been circumcised, a lot of money, feeling the pain, they are proud of themselves, but violence against women was also very rampant. And that steered my intention to start advocating for women's rights and girls' rights. But the organization that I was working was specifically advocating for the rights of children, particularly those in the streets and the other themes among children. So I started with my colleagues in 1999. We started MikonoYetu. We started Kivulini.
Okay.
And Kivulini was specifically working to advocate for women's rights with special focus on mobilizing communities to prevent domestic violence. When I was at Kivulini, I faced so many challenges. And that's why I'm saying it wasn't a rough ride, it was tough. Because when we started Kivulini, the first incidents that emerged was a young woman who was battered and slashed her ears, who came at us dripping with blood. So we organized ourselves very quickly, urgently, to send the girl, this young woman, for medical, because she needed a PF3. And she also said she wanted to be interviewed by TV so that at home they would see her with no ears. Of course, whenever we intervene, we always speak and explain what that would mean. But she insisted that she wants to be seen by many in the community. So we arranged, and we got a lot of support from the media. She was interviewed, and then the police also helped. The court also helped, and the guy, the husband, was sentenced to jail for life. Unfortunately, due to bad condition in the prisons, he died, and that didn't bring it brought a lot of finger pointing, a lot of, people saying that we started Kivulini because we want to send husbands or men to jail. It was talked all over. I'm a Muslim. It was spoken in the mosque, and the one among the board members, she came and told me that it was spoken in the mosque, and they were accusing us of dismantling, the families. But we insisted that it was the law, and we didn't want, to confront, but we said we need to continue advocating for women's rights, and also inform the community what would be measures if they violently abuse women.
Wow.
So my central commitment in my life is to advocate for women's rights. And particularly at that particular time, but now it's urged to continue, that I will continue advocating against violence against women, because it doesn't only affect women themselves, it affects the children, the family, and the entire community, and in terms of community, also the entire nation. So many researches have been conducted is showing that how much impact it has within the family and also within the national. So my central commitment in life is to empower women so that they can also advocate for their own rights. When I talk about women, it's women and girls.
Okay.
Because for me, I totally believe that empowerment can transform how women are perceived. I can take part in terms of doing something, but this has to continue. So empowerment, transforming the voices where women were silent, but women can speak openly about their rights and take action to prevent it. And when I speak about empowerment, I'm so proud that during my time at Kivulini, there were so many women coming up, speaking openly, and also we had kind of a movement, what was termed We Can. So not only women were organized to advocate for their rights, but we also had men who said no to violence.
Wow.
And they said we can take action against violence. So I see women themselves stand up and speaking openly and challenging violence that's happening, but also seeing men connecting, because from the start, as I said, men thought that we were against men and that we want them to go to prison.
Okay.
But later they realized that these women are their aunts, their mothers, their daughters. So because Kivulini also had a legal aid, so they started coming to assist their daughters, their mothers, their aunts, their whatever, grandmothers. So they realized in reality, what we are advocating for is what they are also. That was a very big achievement to see women are standing up, to see men are joining against violence. That can be more sustainable in the community, because we as an organization, we come and go, but they are there within the community to continue. Yes, so maybe I end up there in case there's anything else.
No, I think you've like covered the background of your life. If I can capture it correctly, I think Kivulini was like the highlight of your journey.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we go to the second one. Background about your work. What drew you to the work you do, or the work that you have done?
I guess I may have mentioned it before.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, but let me say that because I see what is happening. So being in the community and seeing what is happening, that has initiated my effort to say that I will not stay mum.
Okay.
And I will have to take action, because action always happens. So by saying no to silence, I started breaking the silence, because no one was talking it openly. So I spoke openly, and I received a lot of challenges, but it built strong muscles to continue.
Okay, thank you. Reflection on your work. How do you, I'm not sure how to rephrase this. How do you understand the term feminism, maybe in relation to your work?
Yeah, for me, I will take a very simple understanding of feminism, because there are times when you speak about feminism, people may see it as a challenge. For me, feminism is about the equality between the two sexes, which is very much important to me, because I'm looking in terms of inequalities that exist in our community. And I would like to change that to ensure that men and women are in equal footing. So to me, feminism is about equality, equality among the two sexes, but looking that women have been women have been put down or have been suppressed, their voices are not heard, and we want their voices to be heard. We want to ensure that, for example, they also own land or they own properties. So to me, to bridge that gap of inequalities.
Okay.
So what it means to my work? For now, as I said previously, I was working with Kivulini, but also I learned so much while working. Majority of women, because we are working at the grassroots level, majority of women who were dependent faced more challenges in terms of relationship. But women who were a bit economically powerful, they had options, and we had projects that targeted that, and even research yeah, research also contributes that women who are economically powerful, they have options. We're not saying that they're not facing violence, but they can step out of violence if they want. But when I was at Kivulini, when you speak about women stepping out of violence, majority of them could not because they are so dependent. I don't have a fare to go home, or my home is in a lot of poverty, or I'm an orphan. But looking to myself, when I am economically powerful, I can do whatever I want. I can buy properties, I can step out of violence situation, I can own anything that I want because I'm economically powerful. But that does not deny that women who are economically powerful are not facing. And that's why for me, I also is from our own experience and also from research that has demonstrated that women who are economically powerful have options. So currently, I'm working around economically empowering women and girls.
Okay.
That have I covered?
Yes, it's well covered. If we go to the next one, it's about the relationship between feminism, scholarship, and activism. How do you perceive the relationship between scholarship and activism in general and in your work?
How do you perceive? For me, I feel we need to join hands, I would say. For me, because when you talk about scholarship, it's almost like academia.
Yeah.
Activism is what we are doing. What we are doing at the community level or at the grassroots level. There's so much going on at the academia levels in terms of research, in terms of studies, in terms of global thinking, how that could be done differently. So we need it to be interlinked. We needed to bring that kind of, sisterhood. I'm saying this because I have already done with a number of international organizations. We needed to bring that solidarity together in general so that it can also trickle down to the community level. Because when you talk about academia, if they don't have connection with the activism at the community level, it could be, pushing things at UN level. For example, you can even talk about Beijing platform of action. That is high academic level, at academic level. But when we identify issues that can be addressed at community level, we are the implementers. But we need to all the time connect because things are also changing. Let me say, for example, when we talk about violence that is happening in the home, because now it's violence in the media, violence in the internet, violence, so violence is expanding. Yeah. But if you just put your head like on an ostrich at the community, you may end up losing other things that are happening. So we need to be interconnected really to bring what is going on at the global level and see how that can be also implemented at the grassroots level. Yeah, so for me, when you talk about feminist scholarship, it's more academic. Yeah. Activism is what we are doing at the community level.
Okay, thank you. The intersection of your work with the women's movement in the country and globally. So what is your analysis into it? Evolution, expectation of development of feminism in this country. What is the relationship?
Let me start with
Okay.
Okay, so for me, let me start the analysis, the evaluation and expectation of the movement feminism in my country.
Okay.
For me, there's so much going on in our country in terms of feminism and the movements. And this I can cite a few though, like we had the constitution, a kind of national movement here to push issues about women equality in our own constitution. We have, and that was headed by Women Fund Tanzania with the other organizations. We have movements that are also spearheaded by Tanzania Gender Networking Program. And this is, of course, with the other organizations. And this was during the Kilimanjaro. We had a Kilimanjaro kind of demands that women were mobilized from the grassroots level and particularly from rural areas who are the most affected. And it brought a lot of women engagement, and they also set up our own demands, which are continuing. And we have so many other political, economical, social movements. And I feel that we are going on the right direction, although now we are slowed by COVID-19. There is so much slowness because our movements are mobilized on women where we have to meet. So now majority of women in the rural areas, we may not be able to meet as we used to be. And the rural women, they can't depend so much on ICT. They are left out. So you know that, I don't know whether that vuguvugu, that vuguvugu that we have seen from the rural perspective is slowing down because of how do we communicate during COVID-19. But we were going in the right direction.
Okay.
Even COVID-19. Not only the movements of feminism, but different type of intervention in our community. My organization has a relationship with other organizations. These are like Women Fund, Tanzania Gender Networking Program, and many other organizations, women organizations, the Maasai women organizations, particularly demanding for the rights of women and girls. And we participate at the community level. And broadly, I would say our participation and relationship with the women movement was going well. As I said, this was, I mentioned about in our own country, but we had movements that we joined in Ireland and also in Canada. In Ireland, we had the women organization joined together by Banulat at that time, Banulat, and we had so many interventions that they would come here and they would mobilize women, we would sit together, we would discuss what issues are pertinent in terms of our own context, and they will provide that kind of support to each other, because there are times that our issues may be not in the priority in their own, but we have issues about poverty, we had issues about violence, we had issues about HIV/AIDS, but also in Canada, we had our colleagues from University of Western Ontario, particularly in the Department of Women Studies, whom we have worked very much close to the extent of them coming here, because we changed the narrative to say that we needed to speak about women who had been very powerful in this. We're aiming at Africa, but it's something that I learned when I was in Ireland. So they came here, we visited so many museums, and then we saw how women were not portrayed in the museum. They would be mentioned because of, these are the utensils that women had, or these are special kanga that women wore, but there was nothing intensive about women. And this is very true. Even today, if you've written about women, we had very strong women in our own country, like Bibi Titi and others, Sophia and others, but you don't see them written. Like during the Maji Maji rebellion, we had a woman. We had the queens here in Tanzania who fought for this country. Like even in Mwanza, we had a queen who's named Queen Nkwimba, and they fought. We had 9 queens who were heading, but they are not written in the history, so that even our children can continue learning, and girls, they could start believing on themselves that they are not, they are not weak. They have been very strong. So that is what we have been doing with the Canada Women Studies Department, to bring out stories of powerful women so that they can be documented and read. Because what is happening now, we just hear that women have been very weak, and we ourselves have internalized the oppression, and we believe that we are weak. But Nyerere said, women, you are eagles, you are not chicken. Straighten up your wings and fly.
Wow.
Yeah. So the narrative, we changed a little bit to bring up those strong women, so that people would see we were not weak, because we have internalized the oppression. We are being taught that we are weak, we are not. We can be very strong and continue this. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I am. I'm getting you very clear. I'm just thinking to the second question. Is like you've answered it already. Connection to international forms of activism and scholarship. Do you have any connection with the activists? So that you have like answered, which was the last question to our session. I would just want to thank you for your time, Mama Maimuna.
Can I say something, Annette?
Sorry?
Annette,
yeah?
Can I say something?
Can you?
I say something?
Yes.
I just want to mention one thing, Annette, which I feel it's drawing us back. As I said it previously, when we speak about feminism, there are people who are not understanding, and that's why sometimes it's easier to speak about equality. So let me tell you something.
Okay.
There are issues about feminism that is, I don't know whether it's pulling us back. Because for me, as I said it previously, it's equality between the two sexes. But when it comes now, we are advocating for other issues out of women issues. That's where I think feminism is being misunderstood. I don't know whether you have captured me on that.
Issues like what? When we say issues outside women issue, what do we mean? What do you mean?
For example, when you talk about issues about gays, yeah.
Okay.
Some people, they don't relate to feminism as equality, but they feel as feminism, we want to advocate for other issues beyond what we feel are important for women.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, anything else you want to chip in before we round up?
Annette, me, I'm very happy that I'm contacted, and let's see how things are going, because this again is about feminism, scholarship, feminism, and activism. Even this act alone, it's feminism, scholarship. Scholarship. Our scholars. Because it's academic, and so even what I believe that our views could be taken seriously, because with our colleagues at scholarship level.
Okay.
So when you translate, if there is anything that you feel I've accomplished in responding, please do not hesitate to contact me.